historic decision today, a five-judge constitution bench of the Supreme Court agreed with the plea regarding the appointment of members of the Election Commission. It noted that the appointment of the Election Commission must be done by a committee that includes the Prime Minister, the Leader of the Opposition, as well as the Chief Justice of India. Now, this is a landmark judgment because it effectively means that every member of the EC, including the CEC, that's the Chief Election Commissioner, will be chosen by this panel. This changes from the current arrangement where the President appoints the Chief Election Commissioner and the Election Commissioners on the advice of the Council of Ministers led by the Prime Minister. So effectively, a check and balance has been put in place by the Supreme Court. What are the implications of this? That's what we're talking today. And remember, the context is also important because there has been a lot of politically charged conversation recently about the role of the Election Commission, with opposition parties very often saying that the Election Commission is acting in a partisan manner favoring the ruling party. Will that critique now end? Will this be a game changer? To speak on this, I'm joined today by Anil Verma of the ADR, Mrunalini, Deshmukh, senior lawyer in the Supreme Court, Amitabh Tewari, political commentator and analyst with us on the show, as is Sanjay Kumar, professor of CSDS. Welcome to all of you and thank you so much for speaking with us. I'm going to begin with comments from Mr. Sanjay Kumar. Mr. Kumar, I talked about some of the context in recent times, and of course there also forms in a sense the basis of these clutch of petitions which have begun all the way from 2015, where the role of the EC has been questioned by parties who aren't happy with what they say. Whenever there are dates announced, you have one side or the other saying it's not favorable to them. Will this effectively put an end to all of it, and what are the implications for the Indian political system?
I don't know whether this will put an end to all these issues, controversies. Look, the process of appointment of the EC or the CEC has not changed for the last 20-25 years. But why do we see these controversies arising only during last, say, 5-7 years? 10 years ago, there were no such controversies. So it's more about the people who are occupying these positions, not about the rules. Because the rules has not changed. People have been appointed. Earlier, as I said, there used to be no controversy, but every time these days, even with the regard to the announcement of the date, there are issues. And why? And I think there is a basis for that. While on one hand, we keep talking about one nation, one election, even the Election Commission came out with a statement that the Election Commission is ready to hold elections, the Lok Sabha elections, along with the State Assembly election. But look at what happened at the time of Gujarat Assembly election and Himachal Pradesh Assembly election. Even the dates for these two State Assembly elections were announced on different dates. What was the compulsion? I think if you look at the events which took place between the date of announcement of Himachal Pradesh election and the date of the announcement for the Gujarat election, there's a huge difference. You would figure out what was happening during that period. So the point I'm trying to say is, yes, the change in rules will certainly make, would strengthen the position of the Election Commission. But more than that, I think it is about the people who are occupying these positions, not about the rules.
The thing is that at the end of the day, in a time like today where everything is so polarized, everything is looked at as, what side are you on? Does this give necessarily some necessary relief to the conversation? Let me come to Mrunalini Deshmukh, senior lawyer of the Supreme Court, who's with us on this. Ms. Deshmukh, your take on the significance of this judgment today.
I think, Tamanna, this is one of the landmark judgments, and I think that shows how the judiciary is now looking into every aspect to ensure that there is transparency, to ensure that there is a fair play, there is a rule of law. In fact, if you see some of the quotes of the judgment that Justice Joseph, who has stated, and he has said that the law will continue to hold good until a law is made a necessary change with regards to the findings of the Election Commission. He has said that there's a huge surge in the role of money power and criminalization of politics. And large section of the media has abdicated its role and become partisan. Now, please understand that these observations of the judge, if I read it in three parts, number one, surge in the money power. Now, this is something which is of concern to the common man. It is of concern to the judiciary. Secondly, criminalization of politics. Obviously, I think that speaks for itself. And largely, and this is about the media also, and a large section of the media has abdicated its role and become partisan. Now, under all these circumstances, what is it that a common man wants from the election process, from the person that he or she wants to elect to be ruling or governing us? Wants transparency, wants the governing that has to be absolutely clear, and that there should be no iota of doubt about the functioning of the system. Ultimately, who wins, who rules is by the number of votes. But the system which has to be put in place has to be put in such a manner that does not create any doubt in the minds of the common man or the voter.
But was there doubt is the question. I mean, the fact of the matter is that the Election Commission of India and our election process has been held up across the world. We run free and fair elections in such large numbers, consistently, time over time, in a manner more sophisticated than some of the most developed countries in the world. I want to get Mr. Anil Verma in on this. Is this an opportunity? Well, I'll come back to you, ma'am. Let me just get everyone's view. Is this a fair sort of assessment that this order casts aspersions on previous action by election commissions in India? I mean, a kind of not so friendly relation between the CEC and past governments has also been well documented. They're not always, on best terms.
Okay, so there are a couple of points on this. Firstly, it's a good judgment. We welcome it. We were one of the petitioners. And all the points which have been raised by Professor Sanjay and Mr. Deshmukh, I agree with them. Basically, it is the man who is occupying the chair which makes a difference. But the point is, since the Constitution came into force, and very clearly it said that till such time a law is passed by the Parliament, none of the political parties has till date bothered to pass a law on this. Why? Because it suits them. It is only over the last, if I were to just give you the tenures of the last 6 chief election commissioners from Zaidi to the current one. Zaidi had a tenure of 4 years, 10 months. The next one, 2 years, 8 months. Next one, 3 years, 3 months. Next one, 3 years, 7 months. Next one, 3 years, 2 months. And the current CEC, if he continues till his 65 years of age, he will do about 4 years plus. So the point is that this, you see, the tenures are being reduced. There is no doubt that the conduct of the elections is par excellence. I mean, the type of election which we conduct where 80 million people, voters are voting, is no joke. It's called the gold standard. Everybody admits that. It's not a question about how the thing is conducted. It is about various issues. One, that the election commission's credibility should be there. The perception amongst the people, the voters, the political parties should be that it is non-partisan, apolitical, and not permitting interference from the executive. Over the last few years, this has not happened. That is why, like they say, justice should not only be delivered, it should be seen as delivered. So similar type of thing applies here also. So, I mean, I can give you so many, even during the Constituent Assembly debates, there was a Professor Saxena who told Mr. Ambedkar, he says, this virtually means that if the president is going to appoint, it means the prime minister will appoint the election commissioners. And Dr. Ambedkar accepted that, yes, we have left this lacuna in this. So the point is, if in the assembly, and it was decided at that time, a law should be passed, why has it been passed?
Right.
Now we are close to so many years of this thing. And if I were to just give you a few instances, there have been so many committees from 1975, Justice Tarkunde Committee, 1990, Dinesh Goswami Committee on Electoral Reforms, 2007, Second Administrative Reforms Commission, 2015, 255th Law Commission Report, 2018, Supreme Court referred the matter to the Constitution bench.
Right.
All these committees have recommended what the Supreme Court has given in the judgment.
No, so it's welcomed.
There
It's welcomed. The context has been laid out by Mr. Verma.
Yeah.
I just want to get.
Just give me 1 minute.
Yes.
Now coming to your point. So there was, after the 2019 elections, the retired Justice Lokur, there was a committee set up under him, and there were various issues which had come up during the elections, which were pointed out by this Citizens Committee on Elections. Certain examples I'll give.
Yes,
I'll request
you to keep it brief, please, Mr. Verma.
This was the longest election in the history. There was a lack of consistency in applying the model code of conduct to different parties, and the EC who dissented was eased out of the Election Commission of India. So, and there are so many. I'll give you another example. Mr. Prem Singh Tamang, who's the Sikkim Chief Minister, he was in jail, he was convicted, and there is a bar of 6 years after which you cannot be that was reduced to 1 year by the Election Commission of India.
No, I don't want to go into specific. I don't want to go into specific examples.
I am giving you specifics.
No, but that's not what I'm discussing today, please. I want to come on implications. And Amitabh Tewari, now this is being said, and Mr. Anil Verma has also welcomed it. Ms. Mrunalini Deshmukh has also welcomed it, that this will change to make things fairer. My question is that right now the CBI director is also appointed, and the name is recommended by a similar panel, which includes the LOP, or an opposition voice, includes the Chief Justice of India. Yet the political charge that the CBI acts, or as a proxy for the government or is targeting political opponents still continues. And I think this is an important point to highlight. Will this really change? Will this really change efforts to say that these are not institutions that are acting as partisan as they should?
See, this should change. However, as Sanjay ji has mentioned, the political parties could continue to blame that the Election Commission is acting in a partisan manner even after this consultative process is adopted, because the party which is on the losing side does come up with some reason or the another. It has to come up with some reason or the another to pacify its voting segment. So it has to send a message to its voting segment that they have done well, but somehow the process is not weak. The EVM has been tampered, the EC has been partial, etc. So it may not necessarily lead to reduction in these claims. And at a time when there is a fight going on, for the lack of a good word, between the judiciary and the government, this could escalate the tensions between the judiciary and the government, because the BJP could see it as the act of judiciary in meddling of the government affairs. So that is something bigger, which I fear that this could escalate the tension between the judiciary and the government.
That's an interesting way to look at it, but frankly, for a democracy, it's in a sense good if different wings are not all on the same page. It tells you that checks and balances exist. Yes, Ms. Deshmukh, you wanted to come in.
Yes. Sorry, I may sound a little impatient, but what I was trying to more intervene and say that this exercise is done to bring about transparency. Now, it's a very valid question that was raised by you and in your discussion, that what happens that today the CBI is also an extended arm of the government, and today it is acting on the acts of the government. So
I said those are allegations. Just to clarify, I said those are allegations.
Allegation, of course, we are only talking about allegations because we have no proof about it. Yeah. It is supposed to be an independent body. It is supposed to act on whatever material it has. But we all know, or we would like to know, that these are the things, the way it happens. What is the point here? The point here is that these are the positions that we are talking about, like the Election Commission and the appointment of the Election Commissioner, is only to create a faith in the common man about the transparency and about no interference of the executive. Now, today, if these kind of judgments are going to escalate the issues which are there between the executive and the judiciary, as what my learned friend has, my co-panelist has just said, please understand one thing, that the judiciary is not concerned about what it does to the executive. The judiciary is for a common man and to see what is best for him. So, for a petitioner who goes and brings about these kind of concerns to the judiciary, they are catering to that and not with a view to see whether there is any kind of a escalation of issues and differences between the two. Point number one. Point number two, which is equally important, is that when a committee is appointed, say by the as they have said, the chief of the opposition party and the chief justice, and this includes that there would be a committee which would look into what is in the best interest of how the election process is conducted to a large extent in a fair and a proper manner, where moral code of conduct is followed. If somebody doesn't follow, there is a strict action taken, and it doesn't matter if that is from the ruling party or the opposition or an independent candidate. Now, all these checks and balances, as you have said, we hope and expect that the appointment of a commissioner from the selection by the committee, as suggested by the Supreme Court, would be held responsible to ensure that there is free. Of course, we have a fantastic way when we are conducting elections. No two ways about it. But
that still doesn't answer my basic question. How does this make a difference to the quality of decisions that the CEC or the Election Commission as a whole makes right now? Because either you come to the conclusion that they weren't playing by the book before, and including a more diverse kind of voice while deciding who takes these positions will change that.
Tamanna, transparency, Tamanna, no interference from executive is what this judgment is aiming at. And it is only trying to bring about a fairer way of conducting elections of one of the largest democracies in the world. And I think if this is an effort which is being done by the judiciary to bring about this, we should all uphold it as something which is in the larger interest of the people, because democracy is of the people.
Absolutely. To have a broader, at the very least, the sanctity of these institutions in the eyes of the common Indian get enhanced. Because when the next time that there is a question, oh, they're acting as a wing, and this keeps happening time and again. I mean, in this whole Maharashtra fracas, you've had, those on the other side saying that the EC is not acting fairly, etc. When this whole symbol situation took place for the Shiv Sena and Shinde, Thackeray, etc. So, Anil Verma, I come back to the basic question. Will all of that end with this change? Because
no,
the next time those questions... The next time this question is raised, the reply will be, but then the person in charge has been selected by the Supreme Court ordained panel.
Nobody can guarantee anything, Tamanna, and the opposition parties will still continue to criticize, which is all right. It happens all over the world. The election commissions are all criticized by the opposition parties, so that doesn't matter. But hopefully, when there will be a certain amount of security of tenure, because now they have also said that the other two election commissioners cannot be just sacked. Earlier only the chief election commissioner had that he could not be impeached and so on and so forth. And so it will give a certain amount of security to the people. And first time in the history, Mr. Arun Goyal, one of the election commissioners, was appointed within 24 hours. He was asked to resign, and then over a weekend he was appointed. I mean, is this the way? And this is when the Supreme Court was hearing the case. That is the beauty of it.
Yeah.
So, there is something to it. No? It's not that they have given this judgment just like that. So, hopefully things will improve.
Okay. So, Sanjay Kumar, talking about what this transparency can do to make a difference in the quality of our political discourse, in the quality of our democracy, how do you think this will change things?
Tamanna, I don't think that this new judgment, and if at all this is implemented, in a sense, there is a change in the process through which the election commissioner and the CEC is appointed. If that is implemented, I'm not sure whether this is going to change the entire process of the democratic processes. But I think there are two important things. One, should we welcome? Yes, this is a welcome step. This is a welcome decision. What does it do? I think this increases the trust of the opposition parties, more than that, if I look at the trust of the common citizen in election commission, I clearly see there is a decline in the trust in election commission. What about, not about they're not holding elections properly, but about being a little partisan. I think
May
once
I
this
ask you,
case,
sir, what are you basing that on when you say that the trust is declining among the common people?
this is based on the surveys which we have been doing. This is not a survey on election commission, but the various surveys when we do ask a couple of questions about neutrality of election commission, about the trust in various institutions. And one of those institutions definitely is the election commission. It still holds a very high degree of trust. But if I look at the trust in election commission over the years, and since 1996 we have been asking this question, we see a little decline. I'm not saying a huge decline. So I think this process is going to restore the credibility of election commission in the eyes of the common people, in the eyes of the common voter, and that's going to be a huge added advantage. I think that's a very important step to take. That will be a very important change that will take place.
Yeah, you also said that if this is implemented, may I ask you why you said that, Mr. Sanjay Kumar?
No, because the decision has come from from the Supreme Court of India.
Yeah.
I'm using it because we have to just wait when this is going to be implemented. Is it going to be before these elections? I don't know. I have no idea about the cycle of.
Okay, no, the reason I was asking was I was wondering if you're inferring to some sort of a legislative action to sort of override this, because that option is open to Parliament, isn't it?
No, I was not referring to that. I was just saying that there are judgments by the court which sometimes doesn't come into operation. So I'm just using. I was just putting a small if that if the process changes.
No, I just wanted to clarify that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Amitabh, you know, in terms of actual fair practice, the fact is that the Election Commission's job has become tougher over time. For things like model code of conduct, for things with, what kind of messaging is being sent and how rules are being flouted in the modern day of digital era, of social media messaging, how to ensure that there is, no spread of hate or coercion for voters. Do you think this will aid the Election Commission to do their very tough job in a more transparent and efficient manner?
I don't think it is going to aid the Election Commission or the commissioners to do their job in a transparent manner, other than just that the appointment is going to be in a transparent manner, and it gives an ammunition to the government in power that at any point of time, if the opposition criticizes or says that the Election Commission is acting in a partial manner, then it will go back to the drawing table and say that, see, all these appointments were cleared by the leader of opposition and the Supreme Court Chief Justice as well. Because the criminalization of politics, the media being aligned or allegedly being aligned to the government, and the use of money power. These three things which have been highlighted by the court, these are not going to be solved by just by appointing a committee to appoint the Election Commission. This needs to be tackled at the Election Commission level with high degree of scrutiny, training and development of the officers, and a strict implementation of model code of conduct so that the officers are not hand in glove with the political parties on the ground. So it's a tough job, all the best to them, but it does bring, or rather it gives some sort of transparency, and any government which is in power should not be averse to this.
Absolutely, it brings transparency. Transparency is very welcome in any shape or form, and it perhaps will make the jobs of the next chief election commissioners easier, because when they are at the receiving end of accusations of political partisanship, they can point to the Supreme Court judgment and the relatively more transparent manner in which they were brought into their position. They're very, very crucial. Democracy. I want to thank all of you for joining us on the discussion today on this very important.
Thank you.